Regional and international emergency communications. This is Throttle Up Prepper. Regional and international emergency communications. Welcome to Throttle Up Prepper. I am your host, Jeff. Thank you for stopping on by. Make sure you stop by the website, throttleupprepper.com. And if you're not already a subscriber, please subscribe now and make sure you hit the notification bell icon so you get notified every time we put out a new video. And I'm in not my usual setup here. I'm at another location at the homestead here. So the lighting is a little different. And for those of you who've been around a while, you know I'm legally blind. Normally I'm staring into the lights right now. I'm kind of guessing where the camera is. So if I'm not looking straight at the camera, that's why. Please forgive me, and let's move on. So international communications, you know, I've done videos on the Midland 75822 CB radio for communications, apps on the phone, all kinds of different things one can use. Personally, I've chosen the route. A year ago, I got my tech class license in ham radio. That's great for local communications, line of sight on the 2 meter and 440 bands, basically VHF and UHF, which is this radio here. This is my Yaesu FT2900R. I don't think there's anybody yapping on it now. Not at the moment. But usually if somebody's on that, it is crystal clear, like they're sitting right next to you. Again, great for local communications. The problem with that is a lot of communications, unless you're doing simplex, which is radio to radio, direct, line of sight, usually not very far. I'm operating 10 watts of power now. This has a maximum of 100 watts that I can output, but per FCC regulation, you use the least amount of power necessary to make a good connection in communication, and I find that 10 watts gets me to their local repeater that I prefer to use, just loud and clear, so why use more? But in the event of an EMP or some sort of a problem, emergency, they may or may not have power at the repeater, which means my signal may or may not get out. That's what brought me to about 2 months ago or so now to get my general ham radio license through the FCC, which gives me HF communications, which goes from the 160 meter band all the way up to the 6 meter band. Basically, there's not too many places I can't go. I'm going to be studying for my extra exam here shortly just to cover everything. But this little number, this is the Yaesu 450D with YT 1200 automatic antenna tuner. And speaking of antenna, we'll go ahead and you can start showing that now. But we have a setup where we've got a center-fed dipole antenna, which basically gives me good access on a multiband use from 80 meters up to 10 meters I can use. And that gives me some amazing around-the-world coverage depending on atmospheric conditions. But that center ladder line, basically it runs 33 feet up in a tree. And then each end of the dipole, I got one hooked up to a tree, and all the way at the other end, 102 feet away on a 40-foot galvanized pole setup. We got that out there, and of course then we run it into the house. Had to drill through some brick, which brings us back to here. The Yaesu 450D is a great little radio. I only had it since Christmas, still learning a lot, having a lot of fun, learning how to, you know, work the controls. It's a beast. There's a lot to learn. Pretty good learning curve. This isn't this kind of thing you can go and buy. Saying, well, I'm not going to get my amateur license. I'm just going to buy it secondhand and leave it in a box in the closet, and then in an emergency, you know, I'll just use it. Good luck with that. There's quite the learning curve. It's definitely attainable. I'm not the sharpest guy in the world, but if I can do it, anybody can do it. But so far, in just a couple of weeks, made some 45 official logged contacts in 23 states, in one foreign country officially. Unofficially, I made a contact in the Dominican Republic, but my Spanish isn't so good, so it didn't really count. I couldn't get his identification. But I did speak with an English-speaking gentleman 2,189 miles away in Colombia, not South Carolina. The Colombia, the nation Colombia. And it's, all right here on HF. And what happened? I'm using the wrong. Got the aliens now. See if we can find something you can listen to. So there you go. There's a little bit of an arc to it. There's other things I can do to make that come in clearer, but for right now, that's the basic setup. We're on the 40-meter band. Great propagation. I've spoken with people in, what was the name of that town? Something with a W. Just 14 miles south of Portland, Oregon, Loma Linda, California, Washington State, Staten Island, all the way down Fort Myers. Listened to conversations in Turkey. Yes, Turkey, Middle East. Just amazing the stuff you hear on here. And the whole point of this, yes, it's a great hobby. Yes, it's a skill. It's something fun to do. But again, in a real emergency, not like the Hawaii thing that we had this past Saturday, where a false alarm went out for an incoming ICBM threat. Yikes! That's another video for another time. But it's a very real threat. What if there is a nuclear detonation? Coming up on January 16th, the CDC is going to be holding a meeting in DC on what to do in the aftermath and the unlikely event of a nuclear detonation, and how they're going to handle that on a federal, state, and local level. So they think it's real. Our generals in our military are on record as saying it's not a question of if it happens, it's a question of when. And what form it's going to take. Is it going to be a thermonuclear blast that wipes out a city, or is it going to be a high altitude detonation that takes down the grid? Either way, we're in trouble. And the next video, I got this cabinet 99.9% complete. I wanted to have it all the way complete before we do the final video on the EMP proofing of the radios. But I just wanted to bring it up that this is a doable thing. If a blind guy can do it, you know what? Anyone can do it. There's no excuse. This is kind of an entry-level radio. You could buy used. I prefer not to buy used because I can't fix anything. I'm not that good at stuff. I can't see stuff. I like the 3-year warranty. And, a couple of years ago, these things were $1,100 for the radio. Now I think the regular price is about $770, and I got it much cheaper than that around Christmas time. So they can be had for as little as $650. And why would you want one? Again, regional communications are much better than just local communications. These don't require repeaters to get the signal out. It's just 100 watts of power that it has. And people, the gentleman I spoke with yesterday in just south of Portland, Oregon, which is 2,200 nautical miles. It's actually farther to get to Portland, Oregon than it is to get to Colombia down there in Central America. And he said I was coming in pretty crystal clear. So 100 watts can get you all around the world. And that could be critical in a disaster. What happened? What's happening? Is it just local, what happened that I'm experiencing? Is it nationwide? Are there troops involved now? Is there a ground war happening? Where? What direction are they headed? God forbid we ever have to deal with junk like that. It happens all around the world every day. People endure this kind of life. So why not us? You know, we've been blessed, we've been protected so far. Hope that continues. And this is all for naught, just a great exercise of what ifs. But I highly recommend you get licensed. For those of you tinfoil hat guys who say, no way, man, I don't want the government knowing where I'm at. Guess what? If you've got a driver's license, a bank account, a cell phone, a home, utilities, anything in your name, just look up the CBS TV show called Hunted. They already know. So that's all I have on this rant, on this little installment. I hope you enjoyed it. Please give this a like, thumbs up, whatever it is now. Share it, help me get the word out, and help somebody else. You know, we don't know what's coming our way or when, but something's definitely coming, and it's definitely time for all of us to throttle up. Until next time, stay safe and God bless.